Hello and welcome to this First Look Exploring session. Today we are reading The Silver Age by Thomas Heywood, Act 2, Scene 4 to Act 3, Scene 5. This is the sequel to The Golden Age by the same playwright, and in the opening of this play, Homer, who is acting as our prologue and narrator, pretty much said, well, Golden Age was a success, and since this Greek mythology material is new to our audience, we're just going to keep mining it for plays. Don't worry, he said, it's all in English and written up to be very entertaining, so you won't be bored while you're learning all this important classical literature. Content warning, important classical literature is full of sexual violence. So, in the earlier part of the play, Jupiter, whose sexual ethics are so problematic as to amount to male entitlement not so much personified as deified, disguised himself as Amphitrio, convinced Amphitrio's wife Alcmena that he was her husband, and got her pregnant, even though she was already pregnant by the real Amphitrio. We also had a very funny scene between Amphitrio's servant Sokia and Jupiter's best pal Ganymede, who was pretending to be Sokia. Today we'll see what happens next in that situation. And we also have Heywood's version of the most famous episode of sexual violence in European mythology, here described as the rape of Proserpine, but better known to us as the abduction of Persephone. As usual, we are joined by a diverse and delightful group of volunteer readers. Reading Amphitrio, Herdsman, and Ceres is...
Hi, I'm Tamara. I'm an actor based in Germany currently.
Reading Second Servingman, Iris, Homer, and a random king.
Hi, I'm Eric. I'm here.
Reading Thessala, Jupiter, and Philoctetes is...
I am Lois in London.
And reading Third Servingman, Blepharo, and Theseus.
Alan Scott, based in Suffolk in the east of England.
We have reading First Servingman, Ganymede, and Proserpine.
Hi, my name's Elizabeth Amisu, and I'm an author based in Romford.
And reading Second Captain and Juno.
Hello, my name is Lynn. I live in the northwestern United States.
Reading Alcmena, a Beldam, and Hercules.
Hello, I'm Helen Good, and I'm a historian in Hull.
And reading First Captain, Midwife, Eurystheus, and Company is...
Rachael Nicole, actor on the East Coast.
Reading Sokia, Galantis, Perithos, and Pluto.
Me, Briony Sparrow, actor in Lincolnshire.
And I'm Aliki Chapple, your guest host for this afternoon, and I will be reading the stage directions and trying to manage the conversation. So, if everyone's ready, we start from what we call Act 2, Scene 4. Enter Amphitrio, Sokia, two captains with attendants.
O gentlemen, was ever man thus crossed, so strangely flouted by an abject groom that either dreams or smad, one that speaks nothing saving impossibilities, and merely false and absurd. Thus thou art here and there, with me, at home, and at one instant both. In vain are these delirements, and to me most deeply incredible.
I am your own. You may use me as you please. One would think I had lost enough already to lose my name and shape, and now to lose your favour too? Oh.
Why, Socia, you too much forget yourself, and 'tis beyond all sufferance in your lord to use no violent hand.
You may say what you will, but a truth is a truth.
But this is neither true nor probable, that this one body can divide itself and be in two set places. Fie, Sokia, fie.
I tell you as it is.
Slave, of all slaves the basest, urge me not. Persist in these absurdities, and I vow to cut thy tongue out, have thee scourged and beaten. I will have thee flayed.
You may so. You may as well take my skin, as another take my name and physiognomy. All goes one way.
Tell thy tale again. Make it more plain. Pray, gentlemen, your ears.
Then, as I said before, so say I still. I am at home. Do you hear? I'm here. Do you see? I spake with my lady at home, yet could not come in at the gate to see her. I delivered her your letter, and yet have it still in my hand. Is not this plain? Do you understand me? I am neither mad nor drunk, but what I speak is in sober sadness.
Aye, Sosia, fie, thou art much, too much to blame.
How dare you tempt your master's patience thus?
Think not to escape thus, yet once more resolve me, and faithfully. Dost thou think it possible thou canst be here and there? Be sensible, and tell me, Sosia.
'Tis possible, nor I blame you to wonder, for it marvels me as much as any here. Nor did I believe that he, my own self that is at home, till he did convince me with arguments, told me everything I did at the siege, remembered my errand better than myself. Nor is water more like to water, nor milk to milk, than that he and I are to me and him, for when you sent me home about midnight.
What then?
I stood there to keep the gate, a great while before I came at it.
The fellow's mad.
I am as you see.
He hath been struck by some malevolent hand.
Nay, that's certain, for I have been soundly beaten.
Who beat thee?
I, my own self, that am at home. How oft shall I tell you?
Sarah will owe you this. Now, gentlemen, you that have been co-partners in our wars shall now co-part our welcome. We will visit our beauteous wife, with whom our business ended. We have leisure to confer.
Enter Alcmena, her servants, and maid.
Have you took down those hangings that were placed to entertain my lord?
Madam, they are.
And is our private bedchamber disrobed of all her beauty, to look ruinous till my lord's presence shall repair it again?
'Tis done as you directed.
Every chamber, office, and room shall in his absence look as if they missed their master, and bear part with me in my reassembled widowhood.
That needs not, madam. See, my lord's returned.
And made such haste to leave me? I misdoubt some trick in this. Is it distrust or fear of my proved virtue? Value it at best can be no less than idle jealousy.
See bright Alcmena, with my sudden greeting I'll wrap her soul to heaven and make her surfeit with joy's abundance. Beauteous lady, see Amphitrio returned a conqueror, glad to enfold in his victorious arms thy 9-month absent body, whose ripe birth swells with such beauty in thy constant womb. How cheers, my lady?
So. We'll do to her your kind commends. You may make bold to play upon your friends.
What language call you this? That seems to me past understanding. I conceive it not. I rejoice to see you, wife.
Yet shalt have more? You do but now as you have done before. Pray flout me still, and do yourself that right, to tell that you told me yesternight.
What yesternight, Alcmena? This your greeting distastes me. I but now, with these gentlemen, landed at Thebes, and came to do my love to thee, before my duty to my king. This strangeness much amazeth me.
We have found one Sosia, but we are like to lose an Amphitrio.
Shall I be plain, my lord? I take it ill that you, whom I received late yesternight, gave you my freest welcome, feasted you, lodged you, and but this morning, 2 hours since, took leave of you with tears, that you return so sudden, should be furnished with such scorn.
Gentlemen, I fear the madness of my man is fled into her brain. Be these my witness, I am but newly landed. Witness these with whom I have not parted.
In this we needs must take our general's part and witness of his side.
and bring you witness to suggest your wrongs. Against you too I can oppose all these. Received I not Amphitrio yesternight?
I assure you, my lord, remember yourself. You were here yesternight.
'Tis most
Most
certain.
These villains all are by my wife suborned to seek to mad me. Gentlemen, pray list. We'll give this error scope. Pray, at what time gave you me entertainment the last night?
As though you know it not. Well, I'll fit your humour and tell you what you better know than I at midnight.
At midnight. Pray observe that, gentlemen. At midnight we were in discourse abroad of my commission.
I remember it well.
What did we then at midnight?
Sat to banquet.
Where I waited.
So did we all.
And I was there at banquet.
Your lordship's merry. Do you make question of that?
At banquet you discourse the interview between the Teleboans and your host.
Belike then you can tell us our success. We that are the first to bring the news can utter it.
Your lordship's pleasant still. The battles joined, cries passed on either side. Long was the skirmish doubtful till the Thebans oppressed the Teleboans. But the battle was by the king renewed, who face to face and hand to hand met with Amphitrio. You fought, and arm to arm in single combat, trod on his head, a victor.
How came you by this?
As though you told it not.
Well then, after banquet?
We kissed, embraced, our chamber was made ready.
And then?
To bed we went.
And there?
You slept in these my arms.
Strumpet! No more! Madness and impudence contend in thee. Which shall afflict me most?
Your jealousy and this imposterous wrong heap on me injuries more than my sex can bear. You had best deny the gift you gave me, too.
Oh, heaven, what gift?
The golden cup the Teleboan's king used still to quaff in.
Indeed, I had such a purpose, but that I keep safe locked. Show me the bowl.
Thessala, the standing cup Amphitrio gave me last night at banquet. There's the key. Somebody say I shall, and then we can get on.
I shall. Yeah, sorry, it's okay. Yeah.
Exit Thessala.
My lord, there's much amazement in the opening of these strange doubts. The more you seek to unfold them, the more they puzzle us.
How came she? By the notice and true recital of the battle's fortune.
That hath this villain told her on my life.
Not I. I disclaim it. Unless it were my other self, I have no hand in it.
Enter Thessala with the cup.
Madam, the bowl.
Restore it to Amphitrio. I am not worthy to be trusted with it.
The form, the metal, and the graving too. 'Tis somewhat strange. Socia, the casket, straight.
Here, sir.
What, is my signet safe?
Untouched.
Then will I show her straight that bowl the Teleboans gave me. Where's my key?
Here, sir. This is the strangest that e'er I heard. I, Socia, have begot another Socia. My lord Amphitrio hath begot another Amphitrio. Now, if this golden bowl have begot another golden bowl, we shall all be all twinned and doubled.
Behold, an empty casket.
This notwithstanding, you deny your gift, our meeting, banquet, and our sportful night, your morning's parting.
All these I deny as false and past all nature, yet this goblet brazen me wonder with the true report of our war's project. But I am myself new landed with these captains, and my men deny all banquets and affairs of bed, which thou shalt dearly answer.
Ask your servants if I missay in aught.
My lord, there is nothing said by my lady, but we are eyewitnesses of, and will justify on our oaths.
And will you tempt me still? Socia, run to the ship, bring me the master, and he shall with these captains justify on my behalf, whilst I revenge myself on these false servants that support their lady in her adulterous practice. Villains! Dogs!
Peace, my lord.
Amphitrio beats in his men. Exeunt.
Nay, let him still proceed, that having killed them I may likewise bleed. His frenzy is my death. Life I despise. These are the fruits of idle jealousies. Yonder he comes again.
Enter Jupiter.
So soon appeased, and from his fury? I shall ne'er forget this injury till I have paid his debt.
What? Sad, Alcmena? Prithee pardon me, 'twas but my humour, and I now am sorry. Whither turn'st thou?
All the wit I have I must express. Born to be made a slave, I wonder you can hold your hands, not strike. If I a strumpet be, you wrong your bed. Why doth not your rude hand assault this head?
Oh, my sweet wife, of what I did in sport condemn me not. If needs, then chide me for't.
Was it because I was last night too free of courteous dalliance that you injure me? Was I too lavish of my love? Next night, fear not, I'll keep you short of your delight. I'll learn to keep you off and seem more coy. You shall no more swim in excess of joy. Look for it hereafter.
Punish me, I pray.
Give me my dower, I'll be gone away. Leave you your harsh humours and base strife. Only the honour of a virtuous wife I'll bear along. My other substance keep, for in a widowed bed I'll henceforth sleep.
By this right hand, which you Amphitrio owe, my wrongs henceforth shall ne'er afflict you so. Speak, are we friends? By the soft kiss I swear, no lady living is to me like dear. These nuptial brawls oft times more love beget. The ravishing pleasures when last night we met, we will redouble. These hands shall not part till we be reconciled.
You have my heart, nor can my anger last.
Fair love, then smile, and let our lips, our hearts thus reconcile.
Enter Blepharo and Socia.
Thou tell'st me wonders.
I assure you, there are 2 Socias, and, for aught I can hear, there are 2 Amphitrios. We were in hope to have 2 golden bowls. Now, if your ship can get 2 masters, you will be simply furnished to sea. But see, my lord and my lady are friends. Let us be partakers of their reconcilement.
Hail to the general. You sent for me, my lord.
True, Blepharo, but things are well made even, and we atone. Your chiefest business is to feast with us. Attend us, Socia. Fair Alcmena, now we both are one, combined by oath and vow.
Exeunt.
There's music in this. If they feast, I'll feast with them and make my belly amends for all the blows received upon my back.
Enter Ganymede.
Jupiter and Alcmena are entered at the back gate, whilst Amphitrio is beating his servants out at the foregate. All's in uproar. I do but watch to see him out in the street, to shut the gates against him. But yonder is Socia, I'll pass by him without speaking.
I should have seen your face when I have looked myself in a glass. Your sweet physiognomy should be of my acquaintance. I will not pass him without conge.
They pass with many strange conges. Enter Amphitrio, beating before him his servants, the two captains. They meet with Ganymede.
Villains, dogs, devils!
Noble general.
These wrongs are too indignant. Socia returned. Where's Blepharo?
I have sought him aboard, but he is in the city to see some of his friends and will not return till dinner. Now for a trick to shut the gates upon him.
Exit.
Patience, if thou hast any power on earth, infuse it here, or I, these hypocrites, these base suggesters of their ladies' wrongs, shall to death pursue.
Find for their punishment some more deliberate season, sleep upon it, and by an order more direct and plain, void of the strange confusion, censure them.
Sir, you advise well. I will qualify this heat of rage. Now I have beat them forth. Let's in and see my wife. Socia stolen hence and the gates shut. Let's knock.
And presumably he knocks. Enter Ganymede above.
What ruffian's that knocks? You think belike the nails of our doors are as saucy as yourself, that they need beating?
Socia, I am thy lord, Amphitrio.
You are a fool's head of your own, are you not?
Ruffian and fool!
Take coxcomb and ass along, if you be not satisfied.
Do you condemn me now? Pray, gentlemen, do me but right. Have I just cause of rage? Can you, that have persuaded me to peace, brook this? Oh, for some battering engine here to raise my palace walls, or some iron ram to plant against these gates.
Sirrah, I make you eat these words. Stay but till I come down. I'll send you thence with a vengeance. I am now coming. Look to it. I'll tickle you with your counterfeit companions there.
Exit.
This is too much. 'Tis not to be endured.
I wish of heaven to have no longer life than once more to behold him. He shall pay for all the rest.
He promised to come down.
And I think he will, for hark, I hear the gates open.
Enter Socia and Blepharo.
Forbear a little, note the villain's humour.
All's quiet within. I'll go help to fetch my lord's stuff from the ship. But see, he's out of the gates before us. Which way came he?
He hath made haste.
I think he hath crept through the keyhole.
Nay, I'll be patient, fear not. Note my humour. Socia.
My lord?
My honest Blepharo, I talk to you anon. My faithful servant who passed this house to you, that you have power to keep the master out? Tell me, what know you by your fair mistress, that you call your lord coxcomb and ass? Nay, I am patient still. Amphitrio's name is here forgot. Fool, ruffian, are nothing. Them I pardon. Now you are down. When do you beat me headlong from the gate, and these my counterfeit companions hence?
Who? I? Is your lordship as wise as God might have made you? I?
You see, we are here still. When do you strike? What? Not? Then I'll begin with you.
Amphitrio,
My lord's mad. Help, gentlemen.
if you be gentlemen and love Amphitrio, or if you know me to be Blepharo, your master, that transported you by sea, give not this madness scope. Upon my credit, Socia is guiltless of this false surmise.
Is Blepharo turned mad too?
General, no. It pities me that left you late so mild, and in such peaceful conference with your wife, so suddenly to find you lunatic. Pray, help to bind him, gentlemen.
So, sir, am I abused or no? Speak, fellow soldiers.
Insufferable, and yet forbear your rage. Breathe, Pont, and find some other leisure these errors to determine.
Well, I will.
Enter Jupiter, Alcmena, Ganymede before, all the servants running fearfully.
Yonder's my brother, my same self.
2 Socius? 2 Amphitrios?
Conjuring, witchcraft.
Friends and my fellow soldiers, you have dealt unfriendly with me to besiege my house with these exclaims, to bring impostors hither. Is there no law in Thebes? Will Creon suffer me for all my service to be injured thus?
Beast thou, infernal hag, or fiend incarnate, I'll conjure thee.
Friends, I appeal to you. When have you known me mad? When rage and rave? Shall my humanity and mildness thus be recompensed? To be outbraved, outfaced by some deluding fairy? To have my servants beat from my gates, my general house disturbed, my wife full grown and groaning, ready now to invoke Lucina, to be checked and scorned? Examine all my deeds. Amphitrio's mildness had never reference to this juggler's rage.
Sure, this is the general. He was ever a mild, gentleman. I'll follow him.
There can be but one Amphitrio, and this appears to be he by his noble carriage.
This is that Amphitrio I conducted by sea.
My lord was never madman. This shall be my master.
And mine.
Mine.
This is my husband.
I'll e'en make bold to go with the best.
Soft, sir. The true Socia must go with the true Amphitrio.
Oh, thou omnipotent thunder, strike, Amphitrio, and free me from this labyrinth.
Gentlemen, my house is free to you, only debarred these counterfeits. These gates that them exclude stand open to you. Enter and taste our bounty. Attend us. Alas, poor Amphitrio, I must confess I do thee too much wrong to keep thee in this maze of doubt so long, which here shall end, for Juno I espy, who all our amorous pastimes sees from high. As she descends, so must I mount the spheres to stop her, lest she thunder in our ears.
Exeunt all but Amphitrio and Socia.
What art thou?
Nay, what art thou?
I am not myself.
You would not believe me when I said I was not myself. Why should I believe you?
Art thou Socia?
That's more than I can resolve you, for the world is grown so dangerous a man dares scarce make bold with his own name. But I am he was sent with a letter to my lady.
And I am he that sent thee with that letter, yet dare not say I am Amphitrio. My wife, house, friends, my servants all deny me.
You have reason to love me the better, since none sticks to you but I.
Let all yon starry structure from his bases shrink to the earth, that the whole face of heaven, falling upon forlorn Amphitrio, may, like a marble monumental stone, lie on me in my grave. Eternal sleep cast a nocturnal film before these eyes, that they may ne'er more gaze upon yon heavens, that have beheld my shame. Or sleep or death command me shut these optic windows in. My brain is coffined in a bed of lead. Cheer cold and heavy. Be my pillow, Socia, for I must sleep.
And so must I. Pray, make no noise for waking me or my master.
Sleep. Well. Okay. Oh, sorry. Right. So yesterday, Helen mentioned, what do you do with the problem of the two Socias? Now we have both a problem of 2 Socias and 2 Amphitrios. What on earth will we do with that? Or would one do with that? Briony.
I just absolutely love the way they've decided that, well, this one's nicer, so it must be him.
Yeah.
I feel kind of bad for the real Amphitrio because he has reason to be upset. So, poor guy.
It's funny, but his situation isn't funny to him. Helen.
Yeah, I was sorry for Alcmena.
Oh,
And you read her with great sensitivity. I thought a really kind of realistic and charming portrait of a woman in significant distress. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, she wants her, give me my dowry back and I'll go. I've had this.
Yeah. Lois.
Yeah. What's odd is that, the real Amphitrio apparently normally is mild-mannered and nice, and so he's behaving totally weirdly here. Beating everybody on the slightest provocation, really. Admittedly, this type of story always depends on nobody thinking of, there must be some reason for this, let's try to find it out, instead of let's just hit everybody who tells us something unbelievable.
Eric.
See, I was going to say he has an excuse because, he comes home from a war. He's been it's a very long journey to get back home, I'm assuming. And he finds this other, all this mess at home, which is basically where he wants to be all the time. And instead of turning up at his king. I know, it's just kind of, there's a part of me going, it's basically Heywood sort of making light of the situation so he doesn't have to deal with the difficulty of, oh my God, she was raped.
Elizabeth, and then Alan.
I was very surprised when Jupiter turned up again, because he made such a big deal out of leaving in the first place. Like, oh no, I must go. A general must serve his hosts and blah blah blah. And then he turns back up. And he's there again. And I just thought that was very, very interesting because we had the comedic scene between the 2 Socias, and now we had a much more dramatic scene between the 2 Amphitrios.
Mm-hmm. I'd be tempted to have him peering over a balcony or something and going, oh, this is too much fun not to get back into. Alan, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, I must admit, I'm just wondering whether this type of sequence was a major influence on things like Phaedo and the farces, because it is almost the classic farce setup, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Right. In A Flea in Her Ear, the sort of doorman at a brothel, I think, looks exactly like the male lead. So that's the one of the devices in Phaedo. That's the plot of Flea in Her Ear.
Helen.
I'm wondering just how pregnant Alcmena is.
Imminent.
Yeah, we've been told she's very near her time.
Yeah, calling on Lucina. That's what you do at the moment of birth.
And Amphitrio's been away for 9 months. I think there's a significance there.
Well, yes. I this made me wonder because it makes a difference to her first scene with Jupiter. Mm-hmm. If they're going, in the last trimester, it's unlikely one would go in for romps.
Yeah.
I don't know about that.
Well,
it's a well-known way of bringing it on. I know quite a few women that have been late stages and have gone for all the curries and jumping on their partners. It's quite a well-known thing.
Doesn't work though. Lynn.
But my impression was that in the early modern period and probably in classical times, there was a taboo against intercourse when you were pregnant.
Yes, I've heard that.
But taboos don't apply to Jupiter.
Yeah, I think Jupiter's done funny things. I think he's done funny things to time. He's made one night last as long as 3, and he's somehow going to arrange for this child that has only just been inseminated to be born at the same time as the one that she's been carrying for apparently 9 months. So he's obviously done something funny anyway. I mean, maybe he's also speeded up the gestation period of the other child.
It's weird because the version of the myth that I understood was that Jupiter shows up one night and then the Amphitryon shows up the next night. Alcmena and he talk and they figure out that, oh, that must have been a god. They sleep together. So she gets pregnant by Jupiter one night, by her husband the next night, and carries the twins to term. So they were conceived one day apart in the version of the story that I've heard before.
Which isn't how human biology works either, Eric.
Yeah, I was going to say that it's just sort of, there's a part of me thinking, in the previous version, they probably went, previous being like Golden Age, they kind of went, we need more laughs in this. It's not funny enough. We can't have all this, this guy just walking around and raping people. We need more laughs, please. And then, sort of this happened.
So, this is all really interesting, but I'm curious as to how you stage this. Presuming you can't find 2 sets of identical twins to play the characters. How do you do this?
Yeah, because when Plautus did it, I think he probably just had 3 actors. I mean, there are never more than 3 people on stage in plays of this period, and they would have had masks presumably. So it would be quite easy for one actor to play, both masters. Well, there aren't twin servants, in fact, in the play that he's thinking of, but the twin servant thing comes from the Amphitryon play, not from the Menechmi play. But in any case, it would have been done with masks. Yes, this one is much trickier, and especially if we are imagining a very heavily pregnant Alcmena, that changes the whole look of these scenes.
I think she does have to be very heavily pregnant. Eric?
I was going to say you could probably do it with puppetry, but I mean, that kind of discounts the whole thing. And also, I think you could just have because to add to the funniness of the situation, just Jupiter having a really, really crap disguise on. But then that just kind of makes me think, well, I don't know, glasses on or off, sort of Clark Kent type style. Yeah, but there's a part of me going, then wouldn't she know? And that just makes it even more terrible.
How do you make that stage illusion work? Yeah, I think sort of 2 men of about the same size with a false beard on one or something might cheat it.
I mean, one way to do it would be to acknowledge that this is basically Plautus and just do it like a Roman comedy with the masks and costumes and everything. Just go into a completely different style.
Yeah, although I think I would miss Amphitrio's face. I think Amphitrio's face in this last scene would have just been a delight.
Yeah, and it's also true that they are treated in a more human way. I mean, the marital relationship, I think you probably wouldn't want to make it quite as caricatured. Yeah,
there's something really quite moving in Alcmena's, something of the way that women who live in abusive marriages go from peace to misery on the turn of a dime.
Yeah. But this apparently has been a really happy marriage. I mean, right. Her general attitude is, have the place look like a dump until he's coming and then make it look gorgeous, to emphasize how she feels both when he's there and when he isn't there.
And we gather that she was an enthusiastic lover too, Eric.
Well, I guess you could also sort of if one of them is wearing a mask and to look like the other person or, whatever, then because when the lights come down, it doesn't really matter. They can just take off the mask off and then you can see that it's Jupiter and so on and so forth. I mean, also for breathing purposes. In the COVID-19 pandemic era, you can just both have face masks so you don't know who this is.
Yes.
Helen.
To an extent, I mean, there are an awful lot of mistaken twin stuff around, and you rely on a willing suspension of disbelief.
It's just that this is such a detailed scene of it. It goes on so long.
Yeah, I reckon if you've got the same general hair color and style and build, I think you can do it. And then Jupiter keeps on sticking his beard back on. Magically.
Magically. Okay, shall we move on to Act 2, Scene 5? Cool. Juno and Iris descend from the heavens.
Okay. Iris, away. I have found the adulterer now. Since Mercury, fair Io's keeper, slew the 100-eyed Argus, I have none to dog and watch him when he leaves the heavens. No sooner did I miss him, but I sought heaven, sea, and earth. I bribed the sun by day and the stars by night, but all their jealous eyes he with thick mists hath blinded, and so scaped. Iris, my rainbow, through her circle round, if he had been on earth, do have clasped him in, and kept him in the circle of her arms, till he had called for Juno. But her search he soon deluded in his sly trans shapes, and till I saw here 2 Amphitrios, I had not once suspected him in Thebes. Robbed all in wrath and clad in scarlet fury, I come to be avenged upon that strumpet that durst presume to adulterate Juno's bed. Pull me from the heavens, fair Iris, a black cloud, from which I'll fashion me a beldam's shape, and such a powerful charm I'll cast on her, as that her bastard brat shall ne'er be born, but make her womb their tombs. Iris, away.
I fly, madam.
No, these are mortals, and not them I seek. I fear me, if he hear me in Thebes, he with his minion straight will mount the heavens. But let him seat him in the loftiest spire heaven hath, or place me in the lowest hell, I'll reach him with my clamors.
Hey ho, now am I dreamed of a scold.
Enter Iris with a habit.
But Iris is returned. Rage, feast thy fill, till I, the mother, slay, the bastards kill.
Exeunt Juno and Iris.
Ooh.
Okay, so from Sosia's line there, we understand that the other two have been sleeping while all of this is going on. Yeah?
Yeah, okay,
Yes.
there we go.
Helen? You're muted. You're muted.
Yeah, we got a problem. I am to read Beldam, but obviously Beldam is in fact Juno in disguise.
Okay.
I think.
Yeah, that makes sense. Lynn, will you read Beldam?
Sure, absolutely. Yeah.
Yes, Eric.
There's a part of me going, it's not her fault. It's not her fault. Like, but obviously, like, I don't know if that's how adultery worked at that time.
Juno mythologically is always in the habit of punishing the women that Jupiter was involved with, and not him.
She hates her rivals. Yeah, she.
Briony.
Yeah. As I understand it, Hercules, in particular, of Jupiter's bastards, of Zeus's bastards, she despised. Not really sure why.
Probably because her name is part of his name, and they needed to justify that. Briony.
Yeah, I just had a random language note because it's the second time the word trans has come up like this, and I know obviously that the meaning is nothing like it is today, but it is something that we might want to just reword for the sake of
what was the word?
I mean, it just means change. So yeah.
Oh.
But just because these days it has quite a fixed meaning. Like I say, I know it obviously it isn't meant in any way to be related in any way, but just in terms of if you're putting it on today, it might be an easy thing to just tweak that.
It's worth noting, absolutely.
Well, trans shapes, I mean, it's kind of like what transfer, for example. I mean, it's really a compound word.
Put it in the chat, Briony, and then Rob looks back at the chat when he's doing script editing.
Any further thoughts on that little scene? Elizabeth?
Juno is vicious.
Oh,
She's so cruel. And she's just like, I'm going to destroy these bastards and their mother. And I feel like it's a real left turn for the play, because even though we've had, accidental killings, Perseus gets a bit over the top, but this time we have like a really intentional murder, murderous intent. Yeah.
The two women who were looking after Danae got murdered, but I guess that was in the last play. Yeah, okay.
Was that the Golden Age?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And in Fantaside, she's talking about killing children so yeah, I mean, I agree that it's it went pretty dark pretty fast there, didn't it?
Yeah.
Eric?
There's a part of me going, yeah, but technically the audience, Heywood's audiences would have been maybe not entirely familiar, but I mean, they would be familiar with the concept of Herod. So I'm guessing there's some sort of alignment there.
Might be. Yeah.
I think they might have been.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to interrupt. Whom did I interrupt?
Lois.
Lois.
Well, I think I was interrupting somebody, wasn't I?
I'm not doing my job in keeping this chat going. Sorry. Can we have Lois, please, then Helen, and then whoever got interrupted by Lois at the end?
Well, it seems unfair, but I'm just going to say they might have regarded her as comic. I mean, jealous wives are funny. Juno, I think, is often thought of as this comic woman who's always jealous of somebody or other. I mean, it's the whole misogynistic world that we're in, that the first thing a jealous wife always wants to do is murder or pull the eyes out or something of the other woman, not of her husband.
Yep. Helen, are you?
Yeah, this Beldam thing is not nearly as simple as it seems. It really isn't. I think part of it, there's something going terribly wrong. I think I'm going to have to read Beldam and just hope for the best.
Okay. Is that all right with you, Lynn? We'll work
Sure,
it out in
that's
the scene.
Mm.
Okay. Was someone interrupted, and do you want to resume what you were saying? Doesn't look that way. Right. Sorry for not managing the room terribly well.
No.
I was reading the chat and I got lost. Rachael.
No, just thumbs up. You're doing great.
Yeah.
Okay, shall we move on? So this is what we have decided is Act 2, Scene 6. Thunder and lightning. All the servants run out of the house affrighted. The two captains and Blepharo, Amphitrio and Sosia amazedly awake. Jupiter appears in his glory under a rainbow, to whom they all kneel.
The thunder thunders, and the Lord of fear bids thee not fear at all, Amphitrio. Jove, that against the Teleboans gave thee the palm of conquest, and hath crowned thy brows with the victorious wreath, commands thy peace with fair Alcmena, she that never bosomed mortal save thee. The errors of thy servants forbear to punish, as forgot by us, and find us to thy prayers propitious. Thy wife, full grown, invokes Lucina's aid. Send in to cheer her in her painful throes. Hers and thy orisons will bear to heaven, and they, in all your greatest doubts and fears, shall have access to our immortal ears.
Jove is our patron, and his power our awe. His majesty our wonder, will our law.
Our act thus ends. We would have all things even. Smile you on earth, whilst we rejoice in heaven.
And I think we'll go straight on to Act 3, Scene 1 from the end of that, because there wasn't that much that happened, really. Act 3, Scene 1, we're a little bit confused about who's who, because there's Juno and a Beldam, and yeah, so we'll just kind of work our way through it and see what happens. However, enter Homer one way, Juno another.
Behold, where Juno comes, and with a spell shuts up the womb by which Jove's son must pass. For whilst she cross-legged sits, as old wives tell, and with clutched hands, there is no way, alas, for fair Alcmena's childing. All those wives that hear her painful throes are in despair, yet in her womb the Jove-bred issue strives. 3 days are past, and her pains still greater are. But note a woman's wit, though Juno smile, a Beldam's brain the goddess shall beguile.
Ha ha, now Jove, with thy omnipotence, make if thou canst way for thy bastard's birth, whose passage I thus bind. And in this knot, which till her death shall never be dissolved, I have power to strangle all the charms of hell, nor powers of heaven shall straight me till the deaths of yon adulteress and her meckle brats. Laugh, gods and men, sea, earth, and air make joy that Juno thus Alcmena can destroy.
Here, presumably, Homer exits, Juno remains. Enter the midwife, Galantis, with 2 or 3 other aged women.
Have you observed her to sit cross-legged ever since my lady began her travail? I suspect witchcraft. I'll have a trick to rouse her.
No doubt, but did she open her knees and fingers? My lady should have safe delivery.
Trust to my wit. I'll in and find a means to startle her.
Note how the Beldam smiles, and in her clutches strangles my lady's birth. Some friend remove her.
Their tears my griefs recure, thus I revenge me of their deeds impure.
Enter Galantis, merry.
Now Jove be praised, and ladies dry your tears, and gentle madam come, rejoice with us.
Why, what's the matter?
I cannot hold my joy. Thanks, fair Lucina, goddess of childbirth. Jove and all be praised. Alcmena is delivered, brought to bed of a fine chopping boy.
Juno riseth.
Is my spell failed? How could I curse and tear?
The witch is roused. In and see what news.
Stay, I'll go see what comfort's within, for when I came out I left my poor lady in midst of all her torment.
What edge of steel or adamantine chain hath forced in two the virtue of my charm, which gods and devils gave unite consent to be infract? O powerful Jupiter, I fear thy hands in this.
Enter Galantis, extremely laughing.
How the witch storms.
What means the wretch to hold her sighs and laugh, and still to point at me? How now, Galantis?
That's my name indeed. Hold, heart, hold. You're a witch, are you? You sat cross-legged, did you? My lady could not be brought to bed, could she? And now Galantis hath gulled you, hath she?
The moral?
I'll tell thee. I, suspecting thy treachery to my lady, brought in counterfeit news she was brought to bed, which you, goody witch, no sooner heard but rose up, and no sooner you had cast your arms abroad, but my lady was delivered of 2 goodly boys, one like my lord Amphitrio, but the other the bravest chopping lad. Laugh the beldam out of her skin, and then return to comfort my lady.
Exeunt Galantis, etc.
Oh, that we should be subject to the fates, and though being gods, yet by their power be crossed. Galantis, I'll be first revenged on thee for this derision, and transform thy shape to some foul monster that shall bear thy name. And are the bastards born? They have passed the womb, they shall not pass the cradle. Iris, ho!
Enter Iris.
Madam?
Fly into Afric, from the mountain there, choose me 2 venomous serpents of the blood, when on his winged horse with that new spoil he crossed the Afric climb. Thou shalt know them by their fell poison and their fierce aspect. When, Iris?
Yeah, I'm gone.
Exit.
Haste, Iris, fly with expedition's wings. These brats shall die by their envenomed stings.
And exit Juno. That was a lot. Okay, let's talk about the childbirth politics of that scene and how you stage it, because there seem to be lots of entrances and exits. Helen.
Well, the plot line is quite clear. There is somebody, either Juno or the Beldam, or Juno as the Beldam, is crossing her legs and her fingers so the baby can't be born. She is then told the baby has been born, so she relaxes because she's cross and wants to investigate, at which point the baby can be born. I mean, that's the plot line. The problem is that someone has to make a decision whose lines are which between Juno and the Beldam, and whose lines belong to other people that have been mistakenly given to the Beldam. I mean, the whole thing seems to be a bit of a pig's breakfast the way it's written at the moment.
I was just confused by the entrances and exits. The dialogue made perfect sense, I thought. Alan?
I think actually it says in the stage direction at the top of the scene that enter Galantis 2 or 3 Beldams, one of whom is Juno disguised.
Yeah.
So I think if you had it as Beldam 1 and then Juno disguised as Beldam 2, it makes a lot more sense.
And Galantis is a Beldam as well.
Yeah,
I mean, midwife,
but she actually does have a name, right?
Yeah.
Whereas the others are not named explicitly.
And she's the midwife, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's Granny Weatherwax with assistants.
Yes, but you've got a speech for Galantis followed by a speech by Midwife. I mean,
that may need sorting.
I did the editing for this, and obviously at some point I either gave up or took my eye off the ball. I'm not sure which at this length of time, but that scene needs a lot of thought.
Yeah,
have to go back to the original, I guess.
Yeah, it can be fixed, but it needs some work.
But it's not unknown in plays of this vintage to actually find, because I've encountered it many times, a speech prefix showing that the same person is actually continuing to speak, but without anybody having spoken in between.
Yeah.
Often following a stage direction.
Eric, you had your hand up.
Yeah, I was just going to say that it's sort of, I think Galantis and Midwife are 2 separate characters because there is a question in there, but I'm not entirely sure. I mean, because it's like, have you observed her to sit cross-legged ever since my lady began her travail? But that could be addressed to somebody else. And then I suspect witchcraft sort of is the aside. And then no doubt, but she did open her knees, might be a continued one.
Yeah, but the takeaway from this scene is mortals 2, goddess nil.
Yeah.
And in fact, the stage direction at the top, enter the midwife, comma, Galantis, comma, with 2 or 3 other aged women, could be read as being that 4 or 5 people are entering rather than the 3 that we assumed.
Yeah. And also, it kind of doesn't really make sense for Galantis to keep talking to herself and go, trust to my wit. Yeah.
Okay. Shall we move on?
Yeah. Okay.
Act 3, we think, scene 2, enter Homer.
The jealous goddess in the chamber throws the poisonous serpents who soon wound and kill young Epictetus, whom Amphitrio owes, but Hercules, whom Jove with power doth fill, you first shall in his infant cradle see, ere grown a man, famous for chivalry.
The nurses bring young Hercules in his cradle and leave him. Enter Juno and Iris with 2 snakes, put them to the child, and depart. Hercules strangles them. To them Amphitrio, admiring the accident.
He that could in his cradle serpents kill will, being grown, the world with wonders fill. Imagine him full grown, nobly trained by King Eurystheus. The bold youth proclaims pastimes of exercise, where he hath gained chief praise and palm in these Olympic games. Them we must next, as his first grace present with Juno to his fame malevolent.
Enter, after great shouts and flourishes, Juno and King Eurystheus.
Hark, hark, Eurystheus, how the yelling throats of the rude rabble deify his praise. Their lofty clamors and their shrill applause strike against the clear and azure floors of heaven, and thence against the earth reverberate, that Juno cannot rest above nor hear, but still his honor's clangor strikes mine ear.
Patience, celestial goddess, as I wish your powerful aid ends when I need it most. So for your sake I will impose him dangers, such and so great, that without Jove's own hand he shall not have the power to scatter them.
If neither tyrants, monsters, savages, giants, nor hellhounds can the bastard quell, let him be pashed, stabbed, strangled, poisoned, or murdered sleeping. Hark, Eurystheus, still.
Shouts within.
How their wide throats his high applauses shrill.
The earth shall not breed a monster, nor the heavens threaten a danger shall not task his life.
Thou chimest me sphere-like music. I have roused a monstrous lion that does range these woods. My dear Eurystheus, make him tug with him.
Shouts.
Still do his praises make the heavens resound. Farewell, Eurystheus. I'll not see him crowned.
Exit Juno. Right. Okay. So the dumb show and speech thing is here enlivened by a dialogue. That's interesting. What do we make of that?
Well, it's as always with Homer, it's an enormous passing of time.
Right. He's gone from newborn to a young adult.
Mm-hmm.
Hercules has. And Juno is still mad. We get that out of it, that he's still pissed off.
And all this Eurystheus business?
I don't think we know who he is yet.
No, except somebody who does Juno's bidding. Eric? Was that a...
That was a we kind of know because of mythology, but that doesn't really count here. It's like leave it at the door. It's interesting. I kind of feel like it's very much sort of it's like in Solomon and Persida, where we had like the sort of jousting scene. So all the action is going on backstage, and they're actually watching it, or whatever. And Juno and Eurystheus are probably just, I don't know, either sitting in the audience or sort of facing the audience, and she's whispering in his ear, kind of thing. That's how I picture it. I don't know if it would work like sort of on stage, just so that you don't end up having them, back to the audience for the entire scene.
Lois.
Yeah, the Olympic Games are going on somewhere else, just as they were this year, and with not much of an audience there, apparently. What's interesting about this, actually, from my point of view, this play is the same year as The Two Noble Kinsmen, a Fletcher play, as you know. And in that one, as well, there are games. And I think a lot of this is a reference to some games that were actually taking place. There was, in the Cotswolds, there was actually somebody who attempted to sort of revive an idea of the Olympic Games, and these were written up. I think a man named Dover, and that somebody did a sort of poem about them. So there was quite a lot of interest in them. And they also turn up actually in one of the court masques for the marriage of Princess Elizabeth to the County Palatine from Germany. There's a scene in which all the Olympian knights come on. So it was clearly kind of a big deal at this point. And that's, I think, why Heywood's working it in, although he could have anyway, given his subject matter.
Looking a little bit ahead, I noticed that these Olympic Games are taking place on Olympus Mount, which is geographically improbable, let's put it that way. Okay, let's move on and see what happens with this young man, Hercules, we now have. Act 3, Scene 3, at least that's what we're calling it. Enter the kings of Greece to Eurystheus with garlands. Hercules, Theseus, Pirithous, Philoctetes with others from the games of Olympus. Eric, you're muted.
I managed to lose my place in the script. One sec. Typical. There we go. Sorry.
Enter the kings of Greece to Eurystheus with garlands. Hercules, Theseus, Pirithous, Philoctetes with others from the games of Olympus.
These honored pastimes on Olympus Mount, begun by thee, the Theban Hercules, shall last beyond all time and memory. Thou art unpeered, all Greece resounds thy praise, and crowns thy worth with these green wreaths of bays.
More dear to me than the best golden arch that e'er crowned monarch's brow. We have begun in pastimes. We'll proceed to acts more dreadful to express our power and hardiment. Though by your suffrage we have best deserved, yet merit we not all. These Grecian princes, though degreed below us, did excel. Though not as best, receive as those did well. Theseus, Pirithous, Philoctetes, take your valor's meed, your praises loud did sound. Then each one take from Hercules a crown.
Brave Theban youth, no less than Jove's own son, give Theseus leave both to admire and love thee, and henceforth have one soul.
Theseus commands the heart of Hercules, and all my deeds, next Jove omnipotent, I'll consecrate to thee and to thy love.
Though all unworthy to be styled the friend of great Alcides, give Pirithous leave to do thee honour and admire thy worth.
That Philoctetes begs of Hercules, thy courtesy equals thy active power, and thou in both art chief and patternless.
We prize you as the dearest gems of Greece, and all the honours of Alcmena's son you shall partake. Whilst these brave Argive kings that rang us plaudit for the Olympic Games shall clap our triumphs against the dreadfulest monsters heaven can send down or deep Avern belch forth. And for the earth-bred monsters, we have power infused by Jove to calm their insolence, nor will we cease till we have purchased us the name of tyrant tamer through the world.
It glads Eurystheus to be made so happy as to be tutor to this noble youth. Thou hast, witness Olympus, proved thyself the swiftest, activest, ablest, strongest, cunningest, in shaft or dart, which when thy stepdame Juno shall understand how much thou dost excel, as 'twill please Jove, it will content her well.
May we renown Eurystheus by our fame, as we shall strive to please that heavenly dame.
Sit on, then, princes, to the farther honors of this bold Theban. May he still proceed to crown great Greece with many a noble deed.
Enter a herdsman, wounded.
Stay, lords. What means this tragic spectacle?
If Greece that whilom was esteemed the spring of valour and the well of chivalry can yield an army of resolved spirits, muster them all against one dreadful beast that keeps the forests and the woods in awe, commands the Cleonian continent, unpeoples towns, and, if not interdicted in time, will make all Greece a wilderness.
Herdsman, thou hast expressed a monstrous beast, worthy the task of Jove-born Hercules. What is the savage? Speak.
Whether some god with Greece offended sends him as a murrain to strike our herds, or as worse a plague, your people to destroy, but a fierce lion lives in the neighbour forest, preying there on man and beast, not satisfied with both. 10 herds my train at once he slew, and me thus wounded. Yet his more unstaunched, he still the thick Nemean groves doth stray, as if the world were not sufficient prey.
This lion were a task worthy Jove's son. Oh, free us from this fear, great Heracles.
If he be damned, I'll rouse the monstrous beast. If seeking prey, I'll chase him through the groves, and having overrun the fugitive, dare him to single war. It fits Jove's son wrestle with lions and to tug with bears, grapple with dragons and encounter whales. Be he as Jove's own shield, invulnerable, or be his breast hooped in with ribs of brass, be his teeth razored and his talons keen, sending at every blow fire from his bones. Yet I, ere night, will case me in his skin. This is our sport above the Olympiads. We will hunt today yon fierce Nemean terror as a game becoming Hercules. Wind horns away, for now a general hunting we proclaim. Follow us, princes, you that love the game.
Hey,
Don't like him. Do not like Hercules.
Lynn.
There's a lot of yang in that scene, isn't there? That's quite the testosterone-infused little bit.
Was a bit of a sausage fest, yes. Eric.
Yeah, it's kind of, I don't know, there's a problem going, well, all the heroes in this, like from Perseus, Bellerophon, and Hercules are basically like, look, I am here to save the world from something that never needed saving from before.
It's the everybody else going, yeah, you're awesome, let's be best friends, that gets me.
Yeah, it's the way he says, I'm the greatest, everybody else is wonderful too, but not as good as me.
Well, everybody knows that he's the son of Jupiter, so I suppose it's inevitable.
And he did just win the Olympic Games, right? He just...
It's apparently every competition.
Yes, but I mean, it's very much as if he's just won the joust.
Yeah.
He's the best knight. And I mean, they talk about javelins and they talk about the fighting part of games rather than the running. Mm-hmm. And then he is faced with a quest, a questing beast. He's got to get, and it seems very medieval rather than classical.
It does, and all of this about the chivalry of the knights of Greece is,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess that's the terms in which early moderns understood heroism and games.
Yes,
Yeah.
I'm really wondering whether Heywood wrote this after seeing the two noble kinsmen, because that has Theseus and Pirithous as important characters, and there is a competition in which someone says to Archite, who is just one, whoe'er you are, you run and wrestle best as this time can allow. I mean, it is rather close.
Right.
So, Heywood might have thought that people would really like to see more about these Olympic games and these heroes.
Makes sense. I'm going to move us on pretty fast because we've still got a couple of scenes to cover. Wind horns. Wind horns? Wind horns enter Juno and Iris above in a cloud. Great special effects.
Yon cheerful noise of hunting tells mine ear he's in the chase. Redouble ire on ire, and tear the bastard Theban limb from limb. Where art thou, Iris? Tell me, from the cloud, where I have placed thee to behold the chase.
Great Hercules pursues him through the meadows, mountains, rocks.
And flies the savage, will he not turn head, knowing his skin saved by Jove's thunderbolt, not to be pierced? Based, trembling coward beast.
Now doth the lion turn against Hercules with violent fury. Alas, poor Hercules.
Gramercy, Iris, I will crown thy brow with a new case of stars for these good news.
Lynn.
Oh, well done, Hercules. He shakes him from his shoulders like a feather and hurls the lion flat. The beast again leaps to his throat. Alcides grapples with him. The lion now Hercules again, and now the beast. He thinks the combat's even.
Not yet destroyed?
Well wrestled, Hercules.
Yay!
He gave the monstrous lion such a fall as if a mountain should overwhelm withal. Above him still, he chokes him with his gripes and with his ponderous buffets, buffets, downs the beast. Sorry about that.
Thunderous buffet.
Thus is my sorrow and his fame increased.
Now he hath strangled him.
Iris, descend. But though this fail, all other dangers store. My lion slain, I will provide a boar.
Oh,
Enter to them at one door Eurystheus and the kings of Greece, at the other Hercules with the lion's head and skin, Theseus, Pirithous, Philoctetes.
Thus Hercules begins his jovial tasks. The horrid beast I have torn out of his skin, and the Nemean terror naked lies, despoiled of his invincid coat of arms.
This head, were it the head of Hercules, doth grace Alcides' shoulders, and methinks, decked in these spoils, thou darest the god of arms.
To you, great Juno, doth Alcmena's son his high laborious valor dedicate. You might have heard the lion roar to heaven, even to the high tribunal in the spheres where you sit crowned in stars. We faced the beast, and when he fixed his talons in our flesh, we caught the monster in our manly grips and made him thrice break hold. Long did we tug for eminence, but when we proved his skin to be wound-free, not to be pierced with steel, we took the savage monster by the throat and in our sinewy puissance strangled him.
Alcides honors Thebes and fames whole Greece.
There shall not breathe a monster here unawed. We shall the world afford a wonderment unparalleled by Theban Hercules. This lion's case shall on our shoulders hang. We'll arm our body with the invulnerable skin, and with this massy club all monsters dare. and these shall like a bloody meteor show, more dreadful than Orion's naming locks, to affright the giants that oppress the earth.
Let Hercules, meantime, abide with us, till King Eurystheus new achievements find, worthy his valor.
Honour me, great prince, to grace my friend Perseus and his aid, to be at their high spousals.
Hippodamia shall in this suit assist Perseus. With us the Lapides, the centaurs meet, those whom Ixion got upon a cloud. They live amongst the groves of Thessaly, and in their double shapes will grace our feast.
Perseus, we will meet the centaurs there, and quaff with them to Hippodamia's health. But wherefore stands bright Juno discontent?
Oh, blame me not. An uncouth savage boar devasts the fertile plains of Thessaly, and when the people come to implore our aid, there lives no mortal that dare undertake to combat him. The rough Nemean lion was mild to this. He plows the forests up. His snowy foam he scatters o'er the hills, and in the course o'erturns the Dordan oaks. Oh, let him die by mighty Hercules.
Eternal goddess, were his sharpened teeth more dreadful than the fangs of Cerberus, or were his bristled hide Jove's thunder proof, were his head brass or his breast doubly plated, with best Vulcanian armor Lemnos yields, yet shall his brains rattle beneath my club. The Erymanthian forest where he dens shall quake with terror when we beat the beast. And when we cast his back against the earth, the ground shall groan and reel with as much terror as when the giant Typhon shakes the earth.
Oh, mayst thou live, the Theban conqueror. Die by the fury of that savage swine, and with thy carcass glut his ravenous maw.
Perseus, I will bring thee to thy bridals this huge wild swine to feast the centaurs with. Diana's wrath shall be Alcides' dish, which he'll present to Hippodamia. Theseus and Philoctetes, you consort Perseus and assist the Lapiths in these high preparations. We will take the Erymanthian forest in our way. Let's part, and the sacred goddess wish us well in our achievements.
To be damned in hell.
I think Hercules and Juno make a great double act in this scene. But I'm going to ask you to keep your comments brief and to the point, because we're running a bit short of time and we've got quite a long scene still to do. Yeah, Eric.
It's very much the Disney equivalent is, when you get the Hercules, like sort of, if you watch Hercules, the cartoon is basically, when Hades' servants pretend to be little boys and go, "Please, sir, you're so strong. We can't. They're the monster. Please go kill it." That kind of thing, and then sort of switch back to their normal mode.
Yeah, she's absolutely doing the toxic femininity to his toxic masculinity.
Yeah.
Helen.
He is quite oblivious of her hatred.
Yeah. I mean, he's
but
also
then I don't think he's very bright.
No, and he's very young. Yeah, Alan.
Yeah, I think there's a number of the lines from Juno which are unmarked but ought to be as asides, because the end of each of her speeches is basically a bit of obituary. Certainly a final one, to be damned in hell.
Yeah.
So that probably needs noting, which might affect the playing.
Yep. Would you put that in the chat, please?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything else before we move on?
Oh, I just wanted to observe the extreme boasting The word, I've never seen the word puissance used to describe bodily strength before. It's always military strength. It's sometimes literally an army. So that's a really interesting word choice, that word that normally implies power in the abstract or a military power. He's talking about bodily strength when he uses it. So just sort of the word nerd in me was struck by that.
And he talks about himself in the plural, which seems
Yeah.
to fit with that. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, Eric.
I just wanted to apologize for the random buffets that are happening in the middle of this.
Dangerous sausage roll.
Yeah, no wonder the monster was aghast. No one's ever offered me all of this before.
Right. Act 3, Scene 5. Enter Ceres and Proserpine, attired like the moon, with a company of swains and country wenches. They sing.
With fair Ceres, queen of grain, the reaped fields we roam, roam, roam. Each country peasant, nymph and swain, sing their harvest home, home, home. Whilst the queen of plenty hallows growing fields as well as fallows. Echo double all our lays, make the champagne sound, sound, sound. To the queen of harvests praise, that sows and reaps are ground, ground, ground. Ceres, queen of plenty hallows, growing fields as well as fallows.
As we are Ceres, queen of all fertility, the earth's sister, aunt to highest Jupiter, and mother to this beauteous child, the moon, so will we bless your harvests, crown your fields with plenty and increase. Your bearded ears shall make their golden stalks of wheat to bend below their laden riches. With full sickles you shall receive the usury of their seeds. Your fallows and your glebes ourself will till. From every furrow that your plowshares raise upon the plenteous earth, our sister's breast, you shall cast up abundance for your gratitude to Ceres and the chaste Proserpine.
Whilst with these swains my mother merry makes, and from their hands eats cakes of newest wheat, the firstlings of their vowed sacrifice, leave me behind to make me various garlands of all the choicest flowers these meadows yield, to deck my brows and keep my face from scorches of Phoebus' rays.
That done, return to us, unto our temple, where we'll feast these swains.
No sooner shall fair Flora crown my temples, but I your offerings will participate.
Now that the heavens and earth are both appeased, and the huge giants that assaulted Jove are slaughtered by the hand of Jupiter, we have leisure to attend our harmless swains. Set on then to our rural ceremonies. Tempests hence, hence wind and hails, tars, cockle, rotten showers, showers, showers. Our songs shall keep time with our flails. When Ceres sings, none lowers, lowers, lowers. She it is whose godhead hallows growing fields as well as fallows.
Exeunt singing.
Oh, may these meadows ever barren be, that yield of flowers no more variety. Here neither is the white nor sanguine rose, the strawberry flower, the pansy nor violet. Methinks I have too poor a meadow chose, going to beg, I am with a beggar met, that wants as much as I should do ill to take from them that need. Here grow no more than serve thine own despoiled breast to fill. The meads I rob shall yield me greater store. Thy flowers thou canst not spare, thy bosom lend, on which to rest while Phoebus doth descend.
He lies down. Thunder, enter Pluto, his chariot drawn in by devils.
What hurly-burly hath been late in heaven against our brother Jove omnipotent? The giants have made war. Great Briareus, whose 100 hands 100 swords at once hath brandished against heaven, is topsy-turned and tumbled headlong from the Olympic towers. But big-limbed Typhon, that assaulted most, and hurled huge mountains against heaven's crystal gates, to shatter them, wrestled with Jove himself, whose heels, tripped up, kicked against the firmament, and falling on his back, spread 1,000 acres of the affrighted earth. Astonished Jupiter, lest he should rise to make new uproars there, on his right hand the Mount Pelorus hurled, upon his left spacious Pachine lies, and on his legs the land of Lilybe. His head the ponderous mountain Etna crowns, from which the giant breathes infernal fires, and struggling to be freed from all these weights, makes as he moves huge earthquakes that shake the earth, and make our kingdoms tremble. Frighted thence we have made ascent, to take a free survey, whether the world's foundations still be firm, lest, being crannied through these concave cliffs, the sun and stars may shine to lighten hell. All's sound. We have struck the earth's bases with our mace, and found the centre firm. Our iron chariot that from his shod wheels rusty darkness flings, hath with our weight proved mountains, dales and rocks, and found them nowhere hollow. All being well, we'll cleave the earth and sink again to hell.
Ceres, oh help me, Father Jupiter, yon ugly shape affrights me.
Ha! What's the matter? Who breathed that well-tuned shriek? Sweet shape, bright beauty, Pluto's heart was never soft till now. Fair mortal.
Hence, foul fiend.
By Lethe, Styx, Cocytus, Acheron, and all the terrors our black region yields, I see and love, and at one instant both. Kiss me.
Out on thee, hellhound.
What are you, beauteous goddess?
Nothing. Oh, help mother, father, Ceres, Jupiter.
Be what thou canst, thou now art Pluto's rape, and shalt with me to Orcus.
Claws off, devil.
Fetch from my sister, night, a cloud of darkness to robe me in that I'll hide this beauty from gods and mortals till I sink to hell. Nay, you shall mount my chariot.
Ceres, Jove.
Ceres, nor Jove, nor all the gods above shall rob me this rich purchase. Yoke my stallions, that from their nostrils breathe infernal fumes, and when they gallop through these upper worlds with fogs choke Phoebus, chase the stars from heaven, and while my ebon chariot o'er the rocks clatters his iron wheels, make a noise more hideous than Panamathias's thunder.
Help heaven, help earth.
Cleave, earth, and when I stamp upon thy breast, sink me, my brass-shod wagon and myself, my coach steeds and their traces all together, o'er head and ears in Styx.
You gods, you men!
Eternal darkness clasp me where I dwell, saving these eyes will have no light in hell.
Wow. Rachael.
I was Ceres' exit little monologue. I wonder if, because she's repeating sort of that song like thing, if she goes into a repetition of that song, I think that would make a nice contrast for where this scene goes, because it's like you hear the music slowly drifting off, and it's like that power of music, how in, Solomon and Perseida, and also that one play with the king and the countess, I forget, or the duchess, I forget, where he's like, they're both like change these drums to like harps or strings or something. That's that idea of that power of music to create that genre. And you have this very fun party just leave, and quietly, it gets quieter and you can hear the birds and the things, and then this, how alone she is.
That's a really lovely sound design note, and I think you're right about the song. Yeah. Eric.
I think we can safely say winter is coming.
You know nothing, Jon Snow.
Briony.
That was incredible to read. The language was just stonking. Really, really well done. I know we've got lots of gods and things with great speeches, but like from what I've read today, that was really, really good.
Lynn.
Yeah, I remember when we were talking about the Golden Age and how the fact that originally Jupiter was conceived as human rather than a god, it kind of made his sexual predations that much creepier. And I think here, the fact that we have kind of a Christian filter through which the playwright is viewing classical stories, again, kind of intensifies the horror, because the way we understand the classical worldview now, the underworld wasn't really hell in a Christian sense. It wasn't a good place. It wasn't fun, but it wasn't a place of damnation, and Pluto is not the devil. That's not how we think of it. That's not how scholarship interprets the classical worldview now. But how else would you think of it in the 16th or 17th century? So making Pluto an ugly devil rather than just the god of death, it makes it even kind of a more terrifying story.
Any other thoughts about this scene before we move on to final thoughts for the play so far and what we've read today? No? Final thoughts in that case. So let's see. Well, Lynn, do you have any final thoughts?
Yeah, that's basically it. That it's what I'm noticing this time is that this is definitely the classics viewed through, a sort of way of being in the world that has changed. Helen said something about there's something very medieval about a series of scenes earlier, which I definitely agree with, talking about the Olympics as chivalry. That's not how we would think of it now. Kind of makes me wonder if 100 years from now, assuming there's anybody around to talk about it, how scholars might look back and go, oh yeah, the way that the 20th and 21st century viewed the classical world was so distorted because of their worldview. It makes me wonder what we're not getting or what we're imposing on our view of the classical world that maybe future generations will think is cute.
Who knows? Although I'm not sure what they'll have access to that we don't have access to make those decisions from. Tamara has had to go. I'm sorry, I should have called on her. But I will go on to Eric. Do you have any final thoughts?
Well, about the play in general, okay, well, obviously we've not finished it, so yeah,
So far.
Yeah, play so far. I don't know. It's interesting how you go from this sort of Jupiter, yes, sort of going about gallivanting with the ladies who without their consent. And then suddenly you go up Pluto, who is this very, very dark character. I mean, by contrast, and they're supposed to be related as well. So it's like kind of like, it's just an interesting range. I don't know. It's just sort of, and of course, all the heroes are like, I'm the best, aren't I? um, it's just an interesting sort of. I don't know how you would stage all this, and also if you have chariots and all that stuff, it's just expensive.
That's what I'm thinking. There's so many different modes, farce and horror and sort of heroic, almost buddy movie. And yeah. Alan, any final thoughts?
Yeah, again, it's got this feeling of being omnibus, and the episodes and the lack of continuity in it is less than satisfactory in my view. There's been some nice episodes. I mean, the Hercules, the Birth of Hercules section, as we talked about yesterday, does seem to be an established lift from Plautus, or from myth via Plautus. The Proserpine one is another totally different story, and I'm not sure that stitching them together like this is actually that successful in terms of modern day theatre.
So you're thinking more in terms of abstracting particular scenes, and
or going back to wherever Heywood begged or researched them from.
Okay. Elizabeth, final thoughts?
Yeah, the play wasn't really doing it for me yesterday, but there's so much going on in this narrative that it's very difficult to kind of lose track of it, or to kind of disengage with it. There's always something to keep you on your toes. I do think it jumps around a bit. It jumps around, and Alan said it was episodic, and I think that's very true. I think it kind of lends itself to the Zoom first look quite well. And on stage, as Eric said, it would be quite expensive to stage because there's just so much dumb shows and so many different characters. And there's one point, Jupiter appears under a rainbow. And I was thinking, how are they going to pull that one off? So this is one of those early modern plays that makes me really wish we could have seen how they put it on.
Lois, any final thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, one thing we do know about it, because Heywood says it somewhere, is that the Aegis plays were put on by two companies working together, I think an adult company and a children's company, which explains why there are so many parts for women, I think. And it's obviously meant to be a real spectacular. It would be quite fun to do it on Zoom. I mean, you could have miniature, dragons and monsters and so on, and just, hold them close to the camera. And I think you could make quite a spectacle of this. Yeah, for example. And it doesn't hang together really, but I think it would make more sense actually if the presenter were Ovid instead of Homer, because the metamorphoses are just a triumph of interweaving stories. I mean, somebody will be telling someone the story of his life, and they're interrupted by somebody rushing in saying, "Help, I'm being pursued by a monster." So they go off and kill the monster. And then somebody says, "Where did this monster come from anyway?" And then somebody tells the story about that. And then somebody else arrives. I mean, it just goes on and on. It never stops. It's kind of a version of Scheherazade. Once you stop, you're dead. So you just keep going on and on with it. And this is a bit like that, except that it's, because of having Homer there, it's really more like, okay, fast forward another 50 years and here's the next hero, which is not as effective actually. But I can see why he has to do it. I mean, breaking it up. I would love to know just how big this cast was. I mean, it's a tour de force for some of these actors, I should think, with all the doubling they must be doing. Yeah, let's by all means use the cats in this if we ever do it.
I agree that it would be work really well on Zoom. Like, stick a rainbow behind my head and all of that. Lovely. Briony, any final thoughts?
Yeah, I'm really enjoying it. I think it speaks to my butterfly brain, that the way it keeps moving and changing, and I'm fine with that. I think there's some really, really well-drawn characters, and I love the way they've kind of, like Lynn said, they've almost put a Christian gloss on it, and they've decided, even though mythically all the gods were a little bit problematic in their behaviours at times. They've definitely made a choice that Pluto is the baddie and written him accordingly, and I love that. I don't think you could read that Pluto bit without some real theatricality, because it is just there in the words. Yeah, I'm having a lot of fun with this one.
Rachael, any final thoughts?
I love that how that last scene is drawn. The Jupiter running in and out with the wife, Alcmena. Those scenes I like. I like these. Maybe that's the part that I like, is that this is mixed between an adult company and a boys' company. So we do get more of these women's roles, and we got some of her relationship with her husband, and we get some of Proserpine or Proserpina, lady who rules the underworld later on, before, and the type of life that she led before that, which I think is, there's stuff to go back and look at with those scenes if we wanted to workshop them, I think.
And Helen, final thoughts?
Yeah, I don't like the way we're doing this. I really think we're doing the text a disservice. It is very episodic, and the way we're reading it is entirely due to the problems of time and sessions and all the rest of it. I mean, I can understand why and appreciate it, but what we're doing is having half a story and then the other half and then a bit of the next, and it really needs to, each episode needs to be read as a whole. I mean, it doesn't fit with our current parameters, but nevertheless, I think that we are really missing out by not reading an act and then reading another act, even if we had to have short days, short sessions.
I think if we were to have a second look, we would do that, you know.
Because it really, I mean, I felt so strongly about this that I actually submitted a plan, but it doesn't work with the way we read. But nevertheless, I think that if we did it according to the act structure, we would be getting a lot more out of it.
I think that's true, but that's not what we're doing at this stage of the process. No. But yeah, I agree. It would work on Zoom, but not in the first look format. Right. Well, it's been a really exciting day here in the Silver Age. Nothing remains but to thank our wonderful readers for their time and their fabulous performances, and big cheesy wave, wrestle with dragons and to tug with bears, grapple with dragons and encounter whales.